What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Toshi today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. Here we are at 303116 right now, just chilling, down about 6.9%, feeling a little frisky on the downside today. Bitcoin's down about 3.3%, so we're about double that, right? Down on the double. I don't anticipate that Toshi has too much lower to go, but I am flirting with the idea that the lowest price we could see on this drop, it could, and I don't know if it will, but it could, go all the way down to like 30226, something like that in that area. Maybe a slightly higher low or a slightly lower low, something like that. You could get a fake out. But the reason why I have a hard time seeing you find support, at least as of now, down in this area, is if Bitcoin drops 14%, Toshi's probably going to drop more than 14%, right? Probably it's going to drop more than 20% even. And if you stop here in the middle of nowhere, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like you're either going to stop above this line or somewhere at this line or lower, right? So it just depends, right? I am anticipating a little bit of volatility for altcoins potentially over the weekend here. That's what I'm expecting. If not, you guys, we got like 20% or more to go across the board for the average altcoin. It's a very possible outcome. Something that we should prepare for nonetheless. The daily RSI does not look the best. All in all, it does look like it wants to go to the oversold zone, revisit the oversold zone. Something like this could perform right like a higher low in the daily RSI, and then you'd get a lower low in the daily price action. That would be bullish divergence and set you up for a potential bottoming area. Make no mistake, I think you've seen the majority of your drop already, right? You got listed on Coinbase here from a high to a low. You've dropped over 89%. Right, 89%. The average coin when they get listed on Coinbase, it's not normally that far of a drop. So you've paid your dues, right? You've paid the Coinbase toll of entry fee right there. But can you go lower? The answer is yes. You still can go lower, but will you? Is I guess the main question. I want to look at this on MEXC and just see here where we are on this relative fib overall, from a low there to a high right there, if I can get it right in the golden ratio. It's really a make it or break it kind of moment right now. Rejecting back off of the golden ratio here is not necessarily a good sign. Normally, I would expect that you do drop to the 786. But again, do I see Toshi dropping 32%? I don't know. It could make sense. It makes sense on the fibs. It definitely makes sense on the fibs. You found support on the golden ratio, rejected the 0.5, and then you rejected the 618 on the way down. You likely would go to the 786. There's like no question about that. But the question that I have a hard time answering is like, will it see a 33% drop if Bitcoin only drops 14%? I don't know if I can answer that with a yes, honestly. So it's kind of interesting. Very, very interesting scenarios here. We're either going to see the altcoin markets drop dramatically more than Bitcoin, because that's where a lot of these lower targets are, or something's going on here where we might get some volatility to the upside, and then this drop overall might come from a higher price, in which case we form some kind of double bottom. I don't know. And I think that we'll obviously know in the next couple days here, over the next week or so, less than a week from now, we'll probably have some resolution. In all fairness, this 786 area is a very fine area to find support. It is the 786 after all. From a fib perspective, it genuinely makes a lot of sense. Prior areas of support down here, and even if you slip a little bit below that, you have prior areas of resistance down here. So 302, 3018, anything and everything in between, I suppose, is a possible outcome. The only thing that makes me think that that's not going to happen, even though generally I'd have no questions at all with this being the way that the fib looks, it's just, it seems like a bit of a harsh drop in comparison to even Bitcoin's harsh drop. I don't know if that would reflect exactly like that on Toshi, but maybe it does. Hard to say. Maybe we just stop looking at Bitcoin and just focus on the price action here. So I guess what we need to say then is, if you can hold, and you have to hold above this high, or sorry, above this low, if you can hold above this low, you won't go down to your 786. But if you do go below it, you probably will, and that would promote a rather dramatic drop from here. You can, make no mistake, you can wick below this low. You can do that. That's fine, but don't close. You don't want to close below like 3028. You don't want to do that on a daily basis. Or if you do, get back up immediately. You know what I mean? If we're looking at this from a relative low to a relative high, you do have your 1414 area. This is in the primary target zone of the fib extensions based on this relative fib. So it is possible that you could find support here. And if you do go down that low, that's about as low as I would think you go to, is about 302, maybe 3018, maybe. But again, that just seems so damn intense. And I feel like a lot of people are, if they're bearish, they're looking for these dramatically lower prices, and it makes sense, but it just doesn't make sense when you piece together the Bitcoin part of the equation. But moving on from that, 4-hour time frame here, very bearish, definitely bearish, getting oversold and not getting overbought, rejecting the 60 area. You had a little double top, and now you're back here below the 40. Looks bearish to me. Lower lows with lower lows here. breaking out of this consolidation phase. I would say this move's just getting started, really. It looks like you've broken out, and what you've done is you've back tested this area for resistance, what used to be support, and you probably do persist lower. Whenever I say that there's volatility coming up, I do believe that that's going to happen, but perhaps you go a little bit lower first, and then you get some volatility to the upside, a lower high, and then maybe when Bitcoin begins its final onslaught to the downside, that's when Toshi also commences its final onslaught. I don't know how it's going to look. I'm not saying that it'll do this and then this and then that. That's not what I'm saying. We could go up from here first and then down. I don't know, but at this point in time, looking at the 4 hour, looking at the price action, I would think that you do continue going lower. 1 hour time frame, hey, a little bit of bullish divergence there. That might be why you're popping right now, but there's not a lot of volume here. It's MEXC. Let's give it a fair shake here. Let's go to Coinbase, something that has more volume. Yeah, not a lot of volume there either. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if this upside, however small it is, if it's very short-lived. I don't think that you get above 3032, or if you do, it'd be very, very short-lived. And then from there, you'll probably continue to go lower if you even make it up there at all. You might just continue to move lower in a very short amount of time. But I will say this 1 hour time frame, the RSI, gives me hope that you could be moving up. However, you do have higher highs here with lower highs there. That is hidden bearish divergence, to be fair. I don't know. Something tells me you probably do move up at some point, but I think you have lower to go still before this, right? And whenever I say lower to go still, I know it might be confusing the way that I'm talking here. Whenever I say lower to go still, I mean before you get this kind of relief rally, I think that you're going to go lower still. And then we get some kind of breath of fresh air. And then that whenever Bitcoin is ready to finally see its final ends of this dump, this is all going to happen over the coming days, right? This is not going to take a long time to play out. I'm talking about like within the next 3 days, we're going to see something like this happen, or I'm wrong and we just go up here, but one or the other. And then within the next few days or the next couple of days, even maybe tomorrow, Bitcoin begins resuming its downside. And that will be hopefully from a higher price that Toshi also begins resuming its downside, right? A little bit of downside to start off the day or start off this like next couple days here, and then a little recovery, sharp recovery, very fast, just like this here. And then when Bitcoin's ready and the rest of crypto's ready, we're going to see some dumping down. Depending on how much lower you go below this low here, I think that will depend on how high you pump over the coming days, over the coming hours, right? It's not going to be long at all. At least I would not expect it to be long-lived. Looking at, let's go back to MEXC, because MEXC has more time frame, more historical data here. Looking at the weekly time frame, not a whole lot to go off of with that RSI. 3-day time frame, not a whole lot. They're all just bearish, honestly. Everything looks pretty bearish. The 4 hour gives me a little hope. Or no, sorry, not the 4 hour. The 1 hour gives me a little hope, but the 1 hour is not that significant. So that can change. I mean, in 8 hours time, this can change a whole lot. So I'm not, and you don't have a lot of volume on this pump, so I'm not weighing on that too much. Might just be an end of day pump to bring up the wick here a little bit. Could you have? Is this? No, it's not. Okay. Let's look up Toshi here, and then we'll wrap up this video, right? Toshi right now at 127 million. You know, in all fairness, throwing out that idea that you could drop another 20% or so, that would bring you down. That would bring you down to about $100 million in market cap valuation, and it's not incredibly uncommon to go just below those psychological areas of support to throw people off. If we do drop all the way down, how much would it be if you're at 127 million now? I mean, 125 million, 25% would be, or sorry, 25 million would be a 20% drop, right? So about 100 million would be a 20% drop. I mean, that puts you right here, just below that low. Could happen. 3025. I don't know. That could happen. A little bit below 3025. I could see it. I could definitely see it. That might make sense for support, actually. That actually is not a bad thing. Not a bad conclusion to draw. It's just kind of in a weird area of the price action itself. I suppose you're at the base of this little phase here. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Whenever it comes to the upside, though, from 100 million, I do think that Toshi's on its way to dramatically higher prices. You're going to see this thing being worth multiple billions of dollars, if not even tens of billions of dollars by the end of the cycle. With a $100 million market cap, a $10 billion price is all you need for a 100x. 100x and 10 billion, those are not small numbers. Those are very big numbers. There's no guarantee that any of that happens, but there are plenty of tokens cycle after cycle that see multi-hundred X's, and the ones that do it tend to be coins that are at very low market caps like this one. So I could see it happening. I definitely do believe that that is a possibility that could be achieved. If we're looking at this here, I don't know if it's appropriate to take this high to low to really guess where the all-time high would be, but maybe this one will. High to low here. If we're doing a 100x, let's see. What would that be? That'd put us right in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know if you'll respect this fib too much though, right? I don't know. It's really not appropriate to talk about. So as far as potential goes, I can just say what its potential is. It's definitely multi-100x potential. It could be a 20x potential. Maybe it's only a 10x potential. You never know. But I do think that this thing has multi-100x potential. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if it saw market caps that were around, if not above, $10 billion by the end of the cycle. We're just in a little lull right now at prior areas of resistance. Everybody's in despair. I wonder what does the crypto fear and greed index say right now? It hasn't updated in the last 24 hours. That's right. So I wonder what it'll be at today whenever the day finishes. Maybe it's in like 2 hours. I forget whenever it updates. Let's see if it tells us. Come on, buddy. Load it up here. Does it tell us? Does it tell you when? I don't know. How is this index calculated? Does it have a time? It doesn't say what time. Nope. That's okay. I bet I could grok it. I'll probably grok it after this. I don't want to waste any time. So I'm done with the video, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I do think Toshi has a lot of potential left in it. I'm not worried about this thing at all, but I am a bit curious to see how far down it goes, right? Will you go all the way down to these lows here? Will these lows prevail or just go somewhere in between? You know, anything's possible, but time will tell. Time will really tell. And to avoid going below this low, I think what you would need to see is some kind of recovery over the coming days, or maybe not even over the coming days, but maybe that is the proper way to say it, over the next 2 days, because I don't think it's going to be too long before the rest of this drop continues, right? I don't expect Bitcoin to just drop through the floor in 1 day's time, but I do think that this is the beginning of more to come, right? Maybe tomorrow, maybe in the next 54 minutes, whenever the day ends, we start off tomorrow on a positive note, retest for a prior area of support as resistance. That alone might give altcoins a bit of a relief rally. And if they do pump, if they do recover rather nice, that can prevent a lot of altcoins from seeing new lows or at least going too much lower than where they are now. If not, it's looking like we got another like 20 to 30% drop across the board for the average altcoin still, even after today. So we'll see how that goes, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye.